Welcome to episode 255, where we do a Greek vinaigrette with a Mediterranean beef salad. Welcome to Bite Me, the show about edibles, where I help you take control of your high life. I'm your host and certified Gourmet Marge, and I love helping cooks make safe and effective edibles at home. I'm so glad you're here, and thank you for joining me today. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Bite Me. I'm really glad that you're here listening along. And I just got off recording an interview with a woman who is an expert in olive oil to hopefully clear up some of the questions that many people have about olive oil, myself included, because I love olive oil. I love infusing it. I love using it for a lot of different things, cooking, baking, topicals. She clears up some of the misconceptions and some of the confusion around olive oil. And I'm really excited for that interview to come out. So I'm kind of riding a high right now as we get into this episode. So let's get into it. Like I said, we are doing a Greek vinaigrette, and I'm not even sure I have much housekeeping to do today. I've got too many windows open, so I can't really find what I'm looking for. I don't know if I've had any. I may have had some fan mail that I wanted to look at, but I didn't pull it up. I do have a couple of fan mails that I got, and a couple of these were from Rochester, New York, and they were jokes, and I really appreciate these messages. Feel free to send me fan mail. It can be about how you found out about the show, a favorite episode, or you just want to say hi and that you're listening, because a lot of the times I'm sitting here in my home office talking away. I love talking to guests, so that's why I do like to have them on often. I've recorded a couple other ones that I will be excited to release as well, because they're really interesting. I have another one booked. But when I'm not sitting here talking to a guest, I'm talking to myself. That's what it feels like. So sometimes I'm trying to imagine a listener sitting on the other side of my laptop and my microphone, and that could be you. But these are a couple of fan mails from New York. What type of shoes do kidnappers prefer? White Vans. That's kind of cute. How many South Americans does it take to change a light bulb? Brazilian. I think this is where I need the... I don't know if that will come through or not. Speaking of white Vans as well, I ordered myself a pair of 8,000 Kicks hemp shoes, and they just arrived. I could see the delivery truck coming up the driveway, and so I haven't even pulled them out of the box or looked at them yet, because I went from the interview right to this recording, but I'm going to be checking those out. Maybe I'll do a little unboxing, because I'm pretty excited to get those. I had intended to pick up a pair while I was in Germany. There was a store that carries this brand of shoes in Berlin, but every time I went to go do it, other things would come up, because this store was a full hour train ride on the other side of Berlin. And I just never seemed to make it to that part of town. I mean, I was there a few other occasions doing other things, but then I wasn't shopping or in shopping mode, so I never made it to the store. And so I ended up ordering them, and they came pretty quickly, actually. They ship out from the States, I believe, so it's not like they were being shipped overseas, and I'm super excited to try them on and see if they fit. I love what they have on their websites. Let's see if it lives up to it in person. I did have Bernardo, the founder of the company, on the show a little while ago, so I'm really excited to see these shoes in person. It might be one of the first real hemp items that I own currently that I can think of. Actually, I own a couple pairs of hemp socks. And I did have a couple of sets of hemp masks back in the day when that was a requirement to live, but no longer. So I'll link to 8,000 Kicks in the show notes if you're interested in something like that. They're waterproof, and I know a couple of people that have bought them. Actually, somebody I was talking to, I'm trying to remember who it was, said they purchased a pair of 8,000 Kicks after listening to my show about it, and they said they love them. So I'm excited, because who doesn't love new sneakers? I actually own a pair of Vans, some slip-on Vans. I wear them all the time. I've kind of worn the crap out of them, but sometimes you don't want flowers on your shoes. Sometimes you want something that's just a solid color. We're going to be trying those out. So let's get into today's episode, because I got a lot of stuff going on today, and I'm worried that I'm not going to have time to record this before I get interrupted. As I mentioned, a beef Mediterranean salad with Greek vinaigrette, which is a beautiful way to enjoy the summer bounty that we are currently enjoying. At least it's a lovely meal to have when it's hot out and you don't feel like cooking. And it's a pretty simple meal to put together. So we'll start with the salad, first of all. And this recipe came from a book called Gourmet Nutrition, the cookbook for the fit food lover. And that cookbook is one I've had on my shelf for quite some time. And I did keep it. I've done a purge of my cookbooks a couple times over the years because I do tend to like to collect cookbooks. This one stayed on the shelf because it did have a lot of healthy recipes. It used a lot of fresh ingredients that weren't too difficult to make, because sometimes you want to eat healthy, but you don't always want to feel like you're having to put in like an hour just to make dinner or something like that. And this one came together pretty quickly. Now, I will say my only complaint is that it said prep time 5 minutes, cooking time 5 minutes. I don't think it was that fast, in my opinion. It was not 5 minutes to prep because you got to chop the vegetables, but it didn't take that long either. And essentially this Mediterranean salad and it makes a small salad. It said serves 1 large or 2 small. So I doubled it because I was going to be sharing this meal. Also love having leftovers, because what do you think I'll be having for another meal later today? Yes, that is right. A beef Mediterranean salad with this Greek vinaigrette. It was so good last night. It's going to be even better today. I know it. But what do you need for the salad? You need stir-fried beef. You need small olives, cucumber, tomato, feta cheese, and onion. It actually calls for low-fat feta cheese, but I just did regular fat feta cheese because I don't really do low-fat dairy of anything. I don't see the point of it. I want the full flavor. If you're concerned about that, you could always use the low-fat feta, or you could just use less of the regular feta, whatever you happen to have. But it's basically, that's it. It's all these vegetables. You mix them all together. I did start out by stir frying the beef, and I cut it into strips so that it would be able to put it on the salad later. And then I did have olives in the fridge. Now, I didn't use canned olives. I used jarred olives that were in the fridge. So I did slice them up myself. So some of that stuff, if you're buying, maybe canned olives that are already sliced, that might be faster. But I find a lot of the canned olives, especially if you're doing black olives, which I found out something about that in the interview today, which you'll learn about later when that episode comes out, they taste kind of woody. I'm not really crazy about the flavor. Although I do recall when one of my daughters was young, she loved to go to the kitchen, open up a can of black olives and just eat them right out of the can. And she would eat the whole thing. And unusual, yes, but a cheap snack for a growing teenage girl, also yes. So I didn't really complain about it. I just didn't see how she could do it. And then a lot of those green olives you can get in the grocery store are also so incredibly salty that you can eat like 1 olive and that's it. So the ones that I like is Costco carries at my local Costco a large jar of garlic stuffed green olives, and those are my favorites. So the salad does have a bit of garlic in it too, because I chopped up the garlic along with it, of course. So I just sliced the olives, I think just in half, pretty much, maybe in quarters. A large cucumber diced. Diced is maybe a misnomer. I kind of rough chopped it. I don't want this pieces too small. I want some substance to the salad that I'm eating. You're going to dice that large tomato. And then I did happen to buy feta that was just in a solid block, so I had to cut that up as well. And then thin sliced onion. And you put all that together, and right there you have something really healthy. Not too many ingredients that you can easily pick up at the grocery store, at the market. And then you put together your Greek vinaigrette. And of course, this is where you're going to be doing your infusion. And the main ingredient, well, I shouldn't say the main, it's actually extra virgin olive oil and red wine vinegar. And the extra virgin olive oil, you can infuse with CBD, THC, whatever you want, but you can use it in a ratio. And it uses a 1/2 cup of olive oil. So depending on how potent your olive oil is, that could be a very strong, I would recommend you probably don't need a whole 1/2 cup of infused olive oil for this particular recipe, because you could be going flying high. Another thing to keep in mind is that you can also not infuse this vinaigrette. And because it's an olive oil based dish, it's really easy to take some of your infused olive oil and drizzle it on top and mix it around on your individual serving plate, so that if you're dining with people who aren't indulging, then you can easily enjoy your infused meal and they don't have to. So that's another advantage of this particular recipe, that you can infuse it or not to infuse it. It's totally up to you. So again, extra virgin olive oil, red wine vinegar, shallots, fresh basil, and salt and pepper. And that's it. And you have a Greek vinaigrette. And it was lovely. And you, of course, could use this on any kind of salad, of course. You don't have to use it on this Mediterranean version. But of course, these two pair together beautifully. And I'm actually salivating a little bit right now because I'm getting kind of hungry. And I'd really like to enjoy this. And I'm going to be probably in the next hour or so. But you essentially add all of these ingredients together. You whisk them up. And of course, it is going to separate as these types of things do. So you're going to want to give it a good whisk before you drizzle it on your salad. But that's essentially it. This may be a short episode because it doesn't really get that much more difficult than that. I mean, you're cooking some beef, you're chopping some vegetables, and you're mixing together some oil and vinegar with a couple extra items. That is the beauty of summer cooking that I absolutely love. And I know that when I did that poll, some people had requested some summer salad, and this one is for you. And it's not necessarily a short ingredient list. It's not a 3 to 5 ingredient, but it is light. It's summery. It's super healthy. And that olive oil is going to really coat those vegetables as well. Yeah, they just suggest that you serve or you drizzle your vinaigrette, your Greek vinaigrette on top after you've plated the Mediterranean beef salad. And that's probably the best way to go. But you could probably put it right in the salad as well. You just want to watch the portion to make sure there's not too much. Yeah, that's essentially it. Short episode today, but short and sweet because it's summertime. And I know you all are busy and maybe you're sliding in this podcast episode amongst some of your other favorite podcast episodes out there. And I hope that you enjoy this one because I'm going to be making it more than once. It's super easy. And I think this one would really lend itself well to using something like chicken instead of beef. I think it's versatile enough to do that. Now, of course, if you enjoyed this episode, please consider sharing it with somebody that you love. And there's something else that I'm wanting to try. I put it out in the Bite Me email newsletter. And if you haven't subscribed to that, the real question is why not? You can go over to the website and do that over there pretty easily. I don't email you too much. I send out like one monthly newsletter. And then there's some reminders about weekly episodes. But I don't want to fill your inbox with all kinds of stuff that you won't be appreciating. But if you would like to lend your voice to Bite Me, here's what you can do. You can send a message to the podcast hotline because that's a way for you to record your voice. And I can use that audio in an episode. And you would just say something like, "Hi, I'm Marge. I'm from Ontario, Canada, and you're listening to Bite Me, the show about edibles." And if you can do that, I will include it in an upcoming episode. And I thought that would be really fun because there's a real diversity of listeners out there. And it's really cool to hear where everybody is from. It's really cool to hear where listeners are listening from. So if you're interested in doing that, by all means, please consider it. And you can find a link to the podcast hotline. Usually it's at the end of every episode webpage. There's a link to it. I'm your host, Marge. And until next time, stay high.